A Lifeline appeal from Graham Norton on the way here on BBC One. But first, a few things you want to get off your chest with Points of View.
Good afternoon from the dizzying heights of Broadcasting House in central London. And this week saw the BBC take many of the top honours at the BAFTAs. The corporation collected 15 of the coveted awards, more than all the other broadcasters in the UK put together. Well done to everyone involved, but with Points of View customers around, no time to rest on laurels. Celebrating 50 years on our screens, Doctor Who got a special mention at the BAFTAs. The special mention was for the Time Traveller's half-century, but there's no BAFTA to put on the mantelpiece in the TARDIS this year. While many die-hard fans are delighted by the Doctor's latest adventures,
Nightmare in Silver really did it for me. Good story, plenty of atmosphere and more than a bit creepy. Matt Smith was at his very best here.
there is a growing mailbag of disappointment at the current series.
I think it's been boring, the stories have been unrealistic, and it hasn't been very scientific at all. For instance, the artificial sun, which ate memories, and when it was given a leaf, which just so happened to contain everything which has never been, it died. I think these sort of things are more for 6-year-olds.
I'm finally starting to think it's about time this classic sci-fi show hung up its hat before it totally destroys the legacy of such a BBC classic.
It's to the point that I don't want to see any classic enemies in it, for fear of them being turned pink and fluffy.
So is the criticism fair? We put the complaints to the drama department.
Over 8 million viewers are watching this series of Doctor Who every week, and it has the highest audience share out of all dramas on any channel this year. We've received a fantastic response to this series and to the arrival of the Doctor's new companion Jenna Coleman. The show has a huge reach. It's the top-rating show for males and younger age groups, including children, and continues to perform strongly amongst its core audience. We always welcome audience feedback and appreciate that Doctor Who fans are some of the most passionate in the UK.
A very full response from the Doctor Who team, but will it be enough to exterminate some of those concerns from fans? Others have been directing their attention elsewhere to a special outside broadcast of The One Show on Friday last week. The show came live from the deck of HMS Illustrious as part of the celebrations of the 70th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic. Of particular annoyance to those who've been in contact was the apparent lack of respect given to the lowering of the flag as the Royal Navy Band played Sunset. Or was that Sunrise?
What they call the ceremonial sunrise.
The Royal Marines Band from Plymouth are playing the Sunset.
Your presenters don't know the difference between sunrise and sunset, but more importantly, they continued their inane chat unabated during the whole of the sunset ceremony.
A great disservice to the veterans of the Battle of the Atlantic, yet more vacuous celebs and presenters yapping away, but not much from the actual men who bravely crossed the Atlantic during World War II.
We put those complaints to Sandy Smith, the One Show's executive editor.
The captain of HMS Illustrious gave his personal consent for the presenters to sit and talk while the flag was lowered, and afterwards said he was delighted with the outcome. The veterans had as much time to talk as was wise during the wind and driving rain and a noisy helicopter landing. This was not a formal commemoration programme, and the decision to locate the One Show on board should in itself be seen as recognition of the wartime bravery of servicemen and women, which regular viewers will recognise we do frequently.
So that's One Show. Now here's another. BBC Two's Pride and Prejudice having a ball. The programme, which recreated Jane Austen's Netherfield Ball, was commissioned to mark the 200th anniversary of the author's popular novel. But the commentary from the historians got in the way of the enjoyment, according to some.
You don't get, I think, from the book that you can see when you see these dances. You're with your partner, but you're also with lots of other people.
Viewers were subjected to 90 minutes of narrative, which did not even stop while the dancers were performing.
I was so looking forward to this and was very disappointed. Too many experts, not enough music or dancing, and little joie de vivre.
So more dancing and less chatting, it seems, would have made this a better watch. But while we are on the spoken word, how we at the BBC deliver our lines is next on our agenda, because one of the topics which comes up time and again in our log is that of pronunciation, how presenters pronounce certain words.
The BBC is the international face of the English language and should not be breaking into Americanisms. Surely there are enough pronunciation experts to prevent such elementary, unprofessional and embarrassing mistakes being made.
Now, there is a BBC department dedicated to making sure we get it right, but, as we discovered, it is not always an exact science.
Controversy?
Controversy?
Probably controversy. Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
This is Pat Butler calling British forces in Gibraltar.
Many believe the era of received pronunciation is dead, but at the very least, the BBC should get it right.
Hello, pronunciation.
This is the BBC Pronunciation Unit, here to research and advise on the pronunciation of any word, name or phrase in any language to our BBC broadcasters.
The pronunciation of the Ecuadorian president's name is Rafael Correa.
Most of our work concentrates on foreign pronunciations, but we are occasionally asked to advise on the pronunciation of contentious English words.
A common defence offered is that it is a matter of preference. No, it is not. In the United Kingdom, the language taught is English, not American. Time to point out to these serial mispronunciation offenders the error of their ways.
Up for criticism, controversy, or is that controversy?
The controversy of controversy.
The controversy.
We use a range of different dictionaries. Traditionally, the British English pronunciation was controversy, although in our Longman's Pronunciation Dictionary, which has a preference poll, 60% of people polled now use the pronunciation controversy. And here we've got the word kilometre.
Kilometre.
Kilometre. This is a word that provokes strong reactions.
I wish you would persuade your presenters not to pronounce the word kilometre in a way that makes it rhyme with thermometer.
Kilometres. Kilometres.
And kilometres.
Kilometres.
Both pronunciations are codified and acceptable in British English. We like to advise our broadcasters that kilometre is the more conservative and traditional British English pronunciation, but that kilometre is on the rise. Language is a living thing and changes over time, but if you're actually looking to preserve and sort of fossilise a language, it can be quite alarming that people are changing their pronunciations.
From questioning pronunciation to questioning life's big conundrums in the CBeebies show, What's the Big Idea?
What are rules?
The animation's central character is a chap called Hugo, who is a bit of a critical thinker. His constant questioning of the world has won praise from mums of preschool children.
But there are also things you mustn't do.
As a philosopher and mum of two, I love every opportunity to get my girls thinking. You love Hugo, don't you?
Yes.
What's the big idea?
What's the big idea?
Well done, CBeebies, proving even our youngest audiences enjoy something with a bit more depth. And for more mature viewers, the start of the new drama series The Fall this week had plenty of depth of its own.
He's a good man, very experienced. First and foremost, we want to progress the investigation. We don't want a trial by audit.
I've done 28-day reviews before, sir.
Not here, you haven't. Things are different here.
I thought this was outstanding. The honesty, the overt but not crass sexuality, even the style. Good direction too, and good to see Belfast on film playing itself.
Loved it. The first episode set the series up nicely. Great acting and pacing. Going to enjoy this series.
The drama is dark in both theme and style, and not to everyone's taste.
Scarce on dialogue and filmed in half light. A truly dismal show. We will not be watching the remaining episodes.
Too dark, and who did what to whom I shall never know. How are we expected to understand this pulsating pile of rubbish? I couldn't make out who was who.
Just like a classic Columbo episode, the murderer is revealed from the very outset. We will watch if Superintendent Stella Gibson, played by Gillian Anderson, can uncover the identity of the killer we already know. But with the whodunit revealed, will this series hold our attention for 4 more episodes? We'll be keen to see how this one plays out. If the plot keeps you awake at night, you might be tempted to turn the TV back on. But as one viewer has pointed out, don't rely on BBC Two to keep you entertained in those wee small hours.
I suffer from erratic sleep patterns, and what I like to do during the night is turn the telly on to see if it'll send me off to sleep. But can you imagine my surprise when I discovered that there aren't whole programmes on for large parts of the night on BBC Two? They're on a loop, and not the programmes in totality. I've actually recorded some of these programmes to prove that I'm right. Well, here we are, now with the monarch butterflies now, looking very pretty. Here we're on to the next one. Now it's Locatelli and Andrew Graham Dixon. I'm sure this stew's very nice, but I've seen it so many times. On to the next one. The Great British Bake Off, something I'm particularly fond of. Now we're on to Coast. Nick Crane, having a wander around. Before we know it, we're on to the next one. Michael Mosley, looking at telecommunications. And before we know it, we're on to Dan Snow with his railway. Oh, look, here we are, Monarch Butterflies again. So in half an hour, we've seen the whole set of programmes and we're back to the start again. Please don't repeat bits of programmes on a loop several times in one night and then several nights in a week. Please show us whole programmes.
Liz McSheehy at a loss as to why BBC Two is on the loop for 2 to 3 hours every night. We've been critical of too many repeats in the past, but surely this is one place they might be welcome.
With the licence fee frozen until 2017, the BBC has had to undergo a number of efficiency savings. It costs money to show programmes at whatever time they are on, and we have chosen to schedule our programmes until around midnight, when the majority of our audience is watching.
One series that it seems you could definitely watch more of is BBC Two's Keeping Britain Alive, the NHS in a day. In just one day last October, 100 cameras across the UK captured the work of the NHS. The footage recorded has been broadcast over the past 8 weeks, and watching the real-life drama unfold has been a real audience winner.
Totally gripping, heartwarming and humbling. Thank you so much for such a wonderful series.
It shows what an incredible, caring institution the NHS is, whilst also showing a broad spectrum of the services available.
That is about all we have time for this week, but we are heading back to the top soon because we are putting together a special programme to air in 2 weeks' time, interviewing Danny Cohen. Right at the top, he's recently been appointed the BBC's Director of TV. He's the man overseeing the BBC's 4 main channels, 1, 2, 3 and 4, alongside BBC iPlayer and online content. We want to put as many of your questions directly to Danny Cohen as possible, whether it is a more general question about content or scheduling, or perhaps you have a very specific inquiry on a programme or series you watch. Love or hate, please get in touch. You can do so in a number of ways: by post at Points of View, BBC Northern Ireland, Belfast, BT2 8HQ. By phone, the number is charged as a local rate call from any landline. Here it is, 0370 908 3199. Or join the special thread on our message board, which is bbc.co.uk/POV, of course. And finally, there is email, pov@bbc.co.uk. We are expecting a big response to this, so do get in touch with your questions as soon as you can. But for now, until next week, goodbye.